Hey everybody out there in YouTube land. Sorry the light's not the best. Oh well, we can deal with it. It just amazes me how I swear to bear, man, people can be their own worst enemy. It's like they're so willing for anybody else to put any barrier in front of them. They go, whoop, you're right. I'm screwed. I can't do it. I have to do this. I have to do that. I don't know where that attitude comes from. I really don't. You know, I put out a video, how to get your CDL without going to school. I didn't ever go to school to get my CDL. I just went over a year driving for one of the best companies in the United States. I pretty much feel like I've kind of got it made. I'm slowly making that transition. I'm preparing to make the transition to an owner-operator. I feel like I'll have that complete before I hit the 2-year mark. But it amazes me, no matter what you talk to people, you say, you want a CDL, go get one. Oh, I can't afford to go to school, or I got to do this, or I got a contract. Nobody says you have to do that. Get the book, read the book, go down, take the test, get your permit, rent a truck, practice for a couple hours, and go take the test. Oh, there's no way that you can learn to drive a big truck in a couple hours. What are the requirements for a vehicle to take a CDL driving test in? A manual transmission, if you don't want to have a restriction of an automatic only. It's a combination vehicle. That means a tractor and a trailer. And air brakes, so that you can have the air brake endorsement, which you got to have. It doesn't say it has to be a big tandem sleeper tractor with a 53-foot reefer behind it. Nowhere in there does it say that. Manual transmission, combination vehicle with air brakes. We're talking a beer truck. A little single axle day cab with a 6-speed manual transmission that you shift like a car. It's got air brakes and run a little 30-foot flatbed trailer to go behind it. The easiest dadgum thing in the world to back. If you can't figure out how to back one of those and do the maneuvers in about 2 or 3 hours, maybe trucking ain't for you. I mean, come on. I swear to bear, people put their biggest limitations on themselves. Like I got this one guy. He's going, well, the state of Washington requires that you go to school. And he goes into this big explanation of why you have to go to school in the state of Washington. All right, I don't know what a school costs in Washington. If they would require you to go to school, I would hope that you could go to school in Washington for less than $1,000. I don't know. But it's probably like everybody else. They want $5,000 to $7,000 or up to go to one of their approved schools. Well, let me ask you this. Maybe you might want to think just outside the box. If it was $5,000 to go to a school, what's an airplane ticket cost you to fly down to Texas and stay in a hotel room one night, maybe 2 nights? Because you don't have to be a resident of Texas to go down to Texas and get your CDL. There's all different kinds of ways to skin a cat, folks. Don't let somebody else who say, well, you have to do this. I listen to these guys on YouTube all the time that tell you, well, you can learn how to drive a truck for free. Contract yourself for slave labor for a year to a company. if you're a dumbass. Because that's what they're going to do. They're going to treat you like a slave for a year. And then, there is nothing free. That training that they're going to give you, what they're going to do is they're going to take that money out of your check every month until it's paid off in the first year. While they pay you 30 cents a mile. Starting going rate in the United States for driving a truck today is 38 cents a mile, with a fast advancement within a year and a half to 50 cents a mile. That's what the going rate is for a truck driver these days. Don't let people blow smoke up your ass and put all these different barriers in front of you. And people say, well, you can't do that. When anybody says that, you can't do that, no, what they're telling you is they can't do that. Don't accept the barriers. It's crazy. And I'm going to tell you, working for a company, that's a step, man. Being a company driver is a step in this industry. Most of the people that come into... I can tell you right now, I'm 57 years old. I have assets. I have land. I have different things. I could sell one of my assets and go out and buy a truck today. But if you're my kind of idea with business is, I don't believe in selling a real asset for working capital. I just don't agree with that idea. I would rather tough it out for a year and a half, and build the capital to overcome that without selling that asset. It's a choice. The other way to look at it is I could sell that asset and make the money back in 6 months to a year to buy that asset back. Maybe I don't want to part with what I got. I don't have any bills. I can do a year and a half standing on my head. Anybody that comes in this business as a company driver, you ought to come into it debt-free. And that's not owing a school $5,000 or $7,000 or going to work for some shit company that pays you 30 cents a mile and then doesn't give you but 2,000 miles a week. That's crap, man. You don't have to live that way. Get your CDL, spend about $1,000 out of your pocket, $500 to $1,000, you can get your CDL. If you can't get it in your own state that way, take a trip to another state and get it that way. Here's the other thing, and then go to work for a good company. Go to work for somebody that's going to pay you up close to 40 cents a mile to start, with an opportunity to advance your pay. I went to work for Magnum at 38 cents a mile, and in 3 months got my first raise. Every 3 months I've been here, I've got a raise. Making pretty decent money now compared to most, I guess. I don't know. But this is the deal, is from day one that you become a company driver, you need to decide how you're no longer going to be a company driver. Because where the real money at is an owner-operator. And don't listen to all these guys on YouTube that says, oh, the risk is too big, oh, you'll fail, and all this kind of stuff. You have to be a freaking moron to fail today. I tell you what, if you drive your own truck the way you drive a company truck, balls to the wall, running every mile that you can get, run your clock every minute that you can of every week, you're not going to fail as an owner-operator. You're just not. I say that, but, I'm sure there are some dumbasses that could fail at it. Hell, we've got some guys on YouTube that supposedly have 15 years experience and they still can't be an owner-operator. Hell, they go into a lease purchase plan and don't realize being self-employed that you got to pay your own taxes. How big of a dumbass do you have to do that? I mean, do you not ask a freaking question one about how to do business? I I'm frustrated, folks. I'm frustrated with people that are willing to be mediocre and be a slave for the rest of their life when they don't have to. It upsets me. It absolutely upsets me. You don't have to. Let's put it this way. You come into it as a company driver. You average 42, 44 cents a mile your first year. You're making $1,000 a week. You never made a grand a week in your life, most of you. All right? Most of you, $500, $600, $700 a week paycheck was a good paycheck for you. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't come into trucking. So now you're making $1,000 a week. Instead of raising your lifestyle, all right, to meet that $1,000 a week, go out, buy a brand new car, get a mortgage on a house, run your credit up the ass. Instead of doing that, instead of being a dumbass about it, why don't you do this? Maintain your lifestyle at that $500 a week lifestyle. And all you got to do is take $500 a month, all right? $500 a month and put it into a savings account. At the end of the year, you got $12,000. At the end of 2 years, you got $12,000. $12,000 is enough to become an owner-operator. I'd rather have 20. Sure would rather have $30,000 to do it. But the fact of the matter is, you can do it and swing it at 12. You'll hear people say, no, you got to have $20,000 in the bank to start. No, you don't. Guys do it every day for 10 to 15 grand. Become owner operators and become successful and start grossing $6,000 a week. And they keep their overall expenses under $3,000 a week. So you go from $1,000 a week to $3,000 a week. Or you can just keep doing what you're doing, being a slave to somebody else, work underneath somebody else's name, stand on somebody else's clothes tails, and make $1,000 a week for the rest of your life. It's just that simple. I hear all the excuses of why I can't. The only time my mother ever laid a hand on me was she told me to do something when I was little. I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I said, I can't. Whap, man, she backhanded the crap out of me. She probably really didn't hit me that hard. It just shocked me. Because my mom, she wasn't one to lay her hands on me that way. She said, don't you ever let that word fall out of your mouth again. Can't. You can think up of all the different excuses why you cannot achieve something. And you know what? You're absolutely right. You won't achieve squat. Or you can get off your ass and do it. I tell you, there's a fundamental that I learned in the Marine Corps, and you can apply it to absolutely everything in life. Being a Marine, if you're given the order to run up and take a hill, you just don't run wild Nelly into the machine gun fire and try to take the hill. You're going to die. That's not the way you do it. And you achieve everything exactly this way. Decide what the objective is. You want to take the hill. First thing you need to do is sneak around, take a look at the hill. See what type of fortified positions there are, what type of crew-served weapons, what type of security that they got on it. Check it all out. And then come up with a plan to overcome it. See, first you do the recon, then you do the planning, and then you practice that plan, and then you go out and do it. And it's the same way with anything else that you want to do in life. And it's the same thing with this trucking thing. You're scared to go out there on your own. I get that. It's because whenever you're scared, that means that you don't know what you're talking about. Because if you knew all the ins and outs about it, you wouldn't be scared. It's the same thing with skydiving. People are scared to death of skydiving because they never had it and they don't have a clue of how it works. Fact of the matter is, if you learn all the ins and outs, you learn the equipment, you learn everything that's involved in it, you find out, hell, the skydive's safer than the drive was to the airport. Fear always comes from the unknown. If you have fear in your heart, it's because you didn't do the recon. You didn't find out what's involved. You didn't educate yourself. Do those things. Come out here, be a company driver. A year, 2 years tops. Put half your money into savings during that period of time. And during that 2 years, take it upon yourself to learn everything that you can about this industry and how it works. And at the end of 2 years, you're ready. You got the money on hand and you got the knowledge. Now it's time to fly. Now it's time to make real money underneath your own name and stand on your own 2 feet. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You got to have the will and be willing to put out the effort and the work to get there. And you, just like everybody else, can achieve success. Quit making excuses. Achieve what you want. Provide what your family deserves.